Jesus answered,
"Watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, claiming I am the Christ, and will deceive many."
A charismatic Australian whose devoted disciples believe he walked this earth 2,000 years ago.
Through AJ's teachings, that's how we come to God.
Agora eu vou pedir ao Pai uma bênção para todos os que estão aqui, ninguém, independente da religião, credo, e os que estão em casa também, que precisam de uma bênção. Oh Pai!
At that time, if anyone says to you, "Look, here is the Christ," or "There he is," do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles to deceive even the elect, if that were possible. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, "There he is out in the desert," do not go out, or "Here he is in the inner rooms." Do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man.
What's wrong with you people?
We'll be looking at the warning that Jesus gave us about false Christs today on The Truth Must Be Told. So stand by.
He's just ignorant. He doesn't know any better than to tell the truth.
It's the truth. I just want to report the truth. It'd be a nice change of pace. Okay?
When in doubt, tell the truth.
Edward, I tried to tell the truth, and they kicked me off the air.
You can't handle the truth.
And now, speaking the truth, even though it hurts. Here's the host of The Truth Must Be Told, Sal Passos.
Good evening and welcome to The Truth Must Be Told. And I'm just so glad you're here with me today. Thank you for tuning in. I just ask that you hit that like button and subscribe so that you won't miss out on any of our episodes. I want to thank you guys for praying for me and for Lori. I'm feeling a lot better physically, and I'm able to get a few more things done. So we're just thankful that you guys are praying and we're the Lord is doing it. Keep us in prayer. We're still in somewhat of a bind in some ways. So just ask that you continue to pray for us and how the Lord will help us out. If you want to help us, you can always help us out financially. PayPal.me/Passos is at the screen. And I also left the Venmo information in the description of the podcast. With that being said, welcome again to the program. And today I just want to take a look at a few of men around the world who claim to be Christ. Now, this is nothing new. All right. But I just want to get in with a few of these just so you get an idea that these guys are out there. And you might say, well, how could people follow them? I'm going to discuss that a little bit. We're going to touch on that. But first guy I want to talk about is this character here. And his name is Inri Cristo. And he's in Brazil. Now, who is this guy? Well, he claims to be Jesus. He said 2,000 years ago in the Last Supper, I said that I would again take wine with my disciples. And he, some scriptures regarding that. Once once spirit without physical body obviously does not take wine. Therefore, I can only take it again, reincarnated, physically reborn. I also said that I would return to the earth and I would first be reproached by my generation. Invisible beings suffer no reproach. It only happens in possession of a carnal wrapping. I also said that I would return with a new name. And he's got a Portuguese name. I can't pronounce it, so just bear with me. I warned that I would come as a thief, therefore no one would know the time. That means that I would unexpectedly appear in homes, obviously by electronic devices. The rational beings ought to wonder. With coherence, logic, and truth, which are inseparable. Now, I just thought it was interesting that he called himself INRI, INRI. So we see that INRI. Now, what does that mean? Well, it's shortened for Latin, which Jesus Nazarenus Rex Judeorum. Now, I'm not good with Latin, even though I took 2 years of it in high school. But basically, that means Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. Now, just as a side note, the scripture tells us that Pilate, when he placed above the head of Christ the sign, he might have looked something like this. He had it on the cross, was in the languages of Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. Now, the INRI you will normally find on Catholic paintings of the crucifixion. All right, so that's where the INRI comes from. And I've watched videos of this guy. I didn't post them because there's music behind it, but he shows up at this one scene with a bunch of women. And I mean, well, it's a lot of things are sensual. And Lori told me that she watched some of the music videos that his disciples put together, and it's very, very sensual. Not to be surprised. All right, so who's number next on our list? So number next on our list is this character here, and his name is Moses Hilawani of South Africa. Now, he's a South African man claiming to be the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. Just a week after reports came out about a man in Australia with a similar claim, and we'll be talking about him too in a little bit. I will never die. I think he died, by the way, as God gave me as a command. And Moses Halongwe, in an interview with the E News channel in Africa, the man who lives in northern KwaZulu-Natal town has apparently attracted over a dozen followers who are giving him money in hopes that his message will be spread around the world. And he's another one that said, just about 2,000 years ago, we arrived on the earth for the first time. My name was Yeshua ben Joseph, which Jesus, the son of Joseph. Mary's name then was Mary of Magdala. The woman identified in the Bible as Mary Magdalene. Mary then was my wife and the first person that I appeared to after I was crucified. Isn't that great? God, you guys are missing out on this. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. They're all over the place. Now, this guy here, excuse me, this guy here is Vissarion of Siberia. He's a self-appointed leader of the Church of the Last Testament. Vissarion has gathered an impressive following of up to 10,000 devotees in the frozen mountain country of the Siberian forest. With his beard and flowing robes, the man whose real name is Sergei Antelevich Dorop, pardon my Russian, looks the part. The 56-year-old claims to be the second coming of Christ and preaches reincarnation, vegetarianism, civility, ecology, and apocalypse. He's a former Red Army officer. He worked as a patrol officer in one of the police forces in Siberia before losing his job in '89. A year later, he had a vision that he was Christ and led his followers to lead his followers, among whom alcohol, tobacco, meat, and money are banned. Well, I don't know. No, yeah. Well, he said meat and money. I was going to say if he banned bacon, it'd probably be. All right, next guy around the world. I think this guy passed away too. His name is David Shaler of England. He's a former MI5 agent and a whistleblower. Now, he declared himself to be the Messiah in 2007, and now occasionally preaches as his cross-dressing alter ego, Dolores Kane. Excuse me while I gag. Shaler says his particular identity as a woman gives the Messiah particular insight into the world from a female perspective. Born in 1965, Shaler rose to prominence after leaking secrets to a British newspaper alleging the government spy agency MI5 targeted people perceived as socialists. And if that's still not good enough for you, let's run over to, I think this is in Japan, is this character here. Mariyoshi Nitsu of Tokyo. And he was a Japanese political activist. He's also known for his perennial candidacy for mayor of Tokyo. He called himself the only God, okay, Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's got a variety of names. Jesus, Matoshi. Anyway, he was a conservative politician. In 1997, he created the World Economic Community Party, a political party based on his belief that he was God. Interesting. And last but certainly not least is Alan John Miller, otherwise known as AJ. He started a cult called The Divine Truth in Queensland, Australia, and he again goes by AJ. He claims to be the reincarnation of Jesus of Nazareth, and his partner, Mary Suzanne Luck, whom he claims to be the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. The couple describe Divine Truth as non-religious. They prey on the vulnerable and emotionally manipulative and abuse their so-called followers. Why doesn't that surprise me, that they abuse their followers? And this happens within cults. They begin to abuse the followers. They tell them they have to do certain things. I had played it, before. What must I do to be saved? You got to earn it by doing religious things. Never sleep past 5:30. Eat only vegetables and Twinkies. Cut your hair and only wear blue. And if you're diligent, you might make it. So this is the problem. They abuse their followers. There's usually a lot of sexual things going on. Okay, Alan is involved with a bunch of women in his church, I believe. I told you about Enrique Cristo. I'm sure all of these guys find some way. I mean, it was the same in all of the cults. You look at all of the cults, Jim Jones, any of these cult leaders that claimed themselves to be Christ, they all somehow sexual content comes into that. And they can only, some of these guys have restricted the men from having sex with their wives, and only the cult leader can have sex with their wives. Wow. Okay, yeah, that's biblical. I'd like to know the chapter and verse on that. But they're wolves in sheep's clothing. They're dangerous. And people are fooled by these men, in my opinion, just as much as the followers of the false apostles and prophets that are on the scene today. As we've been talking about false teachings and false teachers. You can go back and look at the previous shows I've done on Joyce Myers, Kenneth Copeland, all of that. And I'd be interested to hear what your comments are. Put your thoughts are. Put them in the comments below. I'd like to know. But people are fooled by these. They deceive the heart of the simple. Romans 16 says this: "Now I beseech you, brethren, mark these which cause divisions and offenses, contrary to the doctrine which you have learned, and avoid them." See, they need to be marked and avoided. For they that are such serve not our Lord Jesus Christ, but their own belly, and by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple. People are being deceived by the simple things. They're not learning about God. They are they're lying, the deceitful words and whatever. So they are definitely the men like these have been around for years. Solomon said there's really nothing new under the sun. And in the Old Testament, God warned the people about false prophets, not to follow them. Excuse me. In the New Testament, Jesus, Paul, Peter, among others, warned us of false teachers and false apostles. Matthew 7, Jesus told us, beware of false apostles, false prophets, who come to you in sheep's clothing, and inwardly they are ravenous wolves. We have to be very careful with these men. Paul was defending himself in regard to he had to defend himself in 2 Corinthians because these Corinthian church, they were impressed by these other men claiming apostleship. I love one translation describes them as super apostles.
Wile E. Coyote, super genius. I like the way that rolls out. Wile E. Coyote, super genius.
And just like Wile E., their destruction will soon be coming. We have to be very, very careful. Here's 2 Corinthians 11, when Paul says, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing that his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works, just like good old Wile E. there. Now don't be surprised that these men are among us. They're here. Peter warned us in 2 Peter, but there were also false prophets among the people, as I said in the Old Testament, even as there will be false teachers among you, who secretly bring in destructive heresies, even denying the Lord who bought them, and bring on themselves swift destruction. That swift destruction will come to them, and they are going to have a major issue when they stand before God. I think this is what Jesus was talking about when he said, many will stand before me in that day and say, Lord, Lord, haven't we prophesied in your name and done great miracles in your name and cast out demons in your name? And he's going to say, depart from me. I never knew you. So it's iced tea, folks. Not Long Island iced tea. It's just regular iced tea. Sweet tea from, it's what we do down here in Alabama. We drink sweet tea. So don't be surprised that these men are here. Don't be surprised. And that's why I talk about them all the time. I'm not trying to criticize. Well, I am criticizing them, but I'm not condemning them. I don't want to say that but they need to be marked and avoided, Paul says. We also need to call them out, okay? But, we're to expose the works of darkness. A lot of Christians are falling for this junk. Because why? They don't read this. You fall for the garbage because you don't read the Bible. As you begin to, and look at it from a Jewish eye, okay? Because guess what? This was written to the Jews, okay? We tend to westernize it here in the United States. It's not a Western book. It was written to Jewish people. Then you have to understand the Jewish thoughts behind it. Excuse me, I've got a bad tickle. So we need to understand what is going on, okay? The only way you're going to recognize it, the only way you're going to recognize something that's false is by knowing what is right. Jesus told us to be careful, as I played in the beginning, They're going to be false prophets, false teachers. They're going to be people who claim I'm the Christ. I mean, look what I just want to go over. I've got a few minutes here, so let me go over to Matthew 7, where he talks about this. Because when I brought this up, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, inwardly they're ravenous wolves. He, at the beginning of that, and that's the famous passage that I think more people know, judge not, that you be not judged. Okay. He's talking about hypocritical judgment, but then he warns us about the ravenous wolves. And then after he tells us this, beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but are inwardly ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. So he's warning us about false teachers, false prophets, and they are among us. They were among them in Jesus' day. They were among them in the Old Testament. You look at, I talked about this one time in Jeremiah 23. When you read this stuff, it's like, wow, that's like these false apostles today, these false prophets. Come on. We have got to wake up to this stuff. So it's just a warning, okay? It's a warning. Now, I'm going to give you the Acts 17 challenge. And it says don't listen to Sal, okay? But look these things up in the Word that you may know that they're true, okay? So Acts 17, and I've talked about this before. I want to reiterate it because I don't want people to take my word for it. I want you to look these things up yourself. But he's talking about the Thessalonians, okay? These were more fair-minded than those in Thessalonica. Talking about the Bereans, in that they received the word with all readiness and searched the scriptures daily to find out whether these things were so. Would you search the scriptures and approach your pastor and say, hey, is this right? Don't take what somebody says at face value. Look it up yourself. Pray that God opens your eyes to it, that you begin to see it with an eye that Jesus has, not one that Kenneth Copeland said this, or I was talking to my son, and they've thank goodness they've gotten to a great church now, and stuff. But when you go to churches and they have Joyce Meyer's books and handouts, something is wrong. Okay, something's wrong when I don't want to get on this thing again, but Lori and I have been to churches where they get books from heretics, and the only reason they get the books is we get a discount if we buy multiple books. Oh, that's good. You get a discount when you buy multiple poison to feed to your people. I'm sure you can get a discount for, come on, people. Let's use a little logic here. We need to look at what's happening. All right. That's enough of my ranting. I'm sorry. I got onto a thing. Now, don't forget, if they kick me off of here, Passos1 on rumble.com, or Truth Must Be Told at rumble.com. I'm not sure where it is, but go Rumble, and don't forget to check me out there as well. And again, don't forget to smash that like button. That's very, very helpful. That's putting us up in the algorithm, which we really appreciate. And if you would be so kind as to leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you guys as to what you think. And tune in soon. We're going to be having another podcast very, very soon. And we'll talk to you next time on The Truth Must Be Told. God bless. Have yourself a great, great day. Bye-bye.